so, like I was just telling you 10 seconds before we started recording, James, is that we got to start things off on this week's show with your Philadelphia Eagles, which made a massive move in firing Doug Peterson, which I believe was it Friday or Monday?
I believe it was Friday. No, it was Monday.
Was it Monday? Okay, I wasn't sure if it was this week or not. Obviously, very surprising, considering he's won a Super Bowl. Didn't really see it happening, especially since I believe the organization came out and said before Week 17 that he was safe. Then, obviously, we all know what happened in Week 17. Do you think it had anything to do with the way he handled that last game against Washington? I don't think so, and it doesn't seem like that's pretty much been established.
No, I don't think it was that at all. Dude, this team is such a fucking joke, dude. A fucking travesty. I have never. So I always go from like around 2000, because that's like pretty much when I started to really get into football, like actually knew what it was. I've always been an Eagles fan lifelong, because that's just what my family is. But like, so I go from that. So like that's a nice 20-year span. Dude, I've seen the Eagles go to 6 NFC championships.
Have you really?
4 in a row from
Wow.
2004. Yeah. Another one in I think 2010 against the Cardinals. And then
Yeah, you're right.
6. So that's more than 25% of the time the Eagles have at least got to the conference championship game. Obviously, a lot of that was early on, so you know you can kind of throw that to the side. Seen them win a Super Bowl, like, dude, this team. I don't even know what to say, dude. I seriously cannot believe that Howie Roseman is still a part of this team, and I can't believe. This is all I'll leave it at. This team's a fucking joke. I hope they get Lincoln Riley. Doesn't look like they're getting him.
Nah, I find that highly unlikely.
No, I do too. That's who I wanted them to get, though. And, dude, they're done, bro. They're done. We have a little fucking weasel who makes all the decisions. Period. They're done.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's no way.
I'm definitely not a Howie Roseman guy. I felt that for a while, at least this year. But I don't know how you think that he's the answer, but Doug Peterson's not. I don't get it.
He's the problem. And this is the thing. I didn't even touch on the firing. Dude, I don't care about the firing. I love Doug. Everyone in Philly will always love Doug. There's always a, did he deserve to get fired? Dude, sometimes things just run its course. Like we've said, the arrow's been pointing down in this team multiple years. You can't just sit there and be like, he won a Super Bowl 3 years ago, so he just gets a pass for 6 years after that. You know what I mean? It's like, no, dude, this is Philly. It's like Green Bay. It's like the Steelers. Like, dude, they like to win games. This isn't a team that likes to get. I've seen the Eagles go under 500, I think, 3 times in my life. They're always at least 8-8 or above every fucking year, dude. Like, this is not a bad organization, and they are operating like the fucking Browns, like the fucking Detroit Lions. That's what this team looks like right now. And it's just unfucking believable. Nobody's going to want to come coach here. Who the fuck wants to come coach under that little Jew bastard Howie Roseman? Fuck him, bro. I hate that motherfucker.
Okay. Before we continue, the bad language is one thing. We can't be starting anti-Semitic shit, James.
No, fuck Howie Roseman. And Jeff Lurie. Both of them. They're both Jewish, and I fucking hate them both. Not because they're Jewish.
Okay, I don't subscribe to either of that, as Charlie Kelly would say.
I don't care. Fuck them.
What does Max say before Charlie says that, and It's Always Sunny? Oh, they have their J sides because they don't want to be with us as much as we don't want to be with them. Charlie says, I don't support any of that. That's how I feel right now. Oh gosh, that was funny.
So realistically, I think the Eagles. Listen. If they could just take the drafting and put that in somebody else's hands, I think we'll be fine. They won't do. They're going to get Joe Brady. That's what I think they're going to get.
That's one of the hires. Like I've thought about and we haven't talked about that yet. With all these coaching openings, I thought like the Chargers are the best one. I think right now they ought to be able to get like an Eric Bieniemy or someone at the top, Robert Salah.
Have you been hearing? Dude, I've been hearing Eric Bieniemy interviews very bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's interviewed everywhere, and yeah, I mean, he's not really linked to any of these jobs right now.
Yeah, dude, you would think that would be like the runaway favorite for the past not. So I forget, I was listening to John Middlecoff, and he's like, yeah, a few people that I heard, like, obviously super bright football mind, but just like, is it like super powerful in an interview setting, which like obviously is gonna not help. Dude,
I'll say that. I believe that was the.
I almost want.
Sorry, you cut off.
I was gonna say I almost want Philly to get Robert Saleh just so like Howie Roseman will just be like afraid to tell him what to do, because that's a scary ass dude.
I wanted to touch up on that. I do believe that the thing that got Doug Peterson fired, it's great. Some of his decisions in games is great when you're winning. Going for it on fourth down, 2-point conversions are cool when they work. But after a while, it gets old. You start losing games. Then he's got this attitude of, I'm going to run the team the way I want to run it. I want to hire who I want to hire, which I totally agree with. Hire whoever you want. I don't think it should be the owner making the call. But after a while of that, and standing up to ownership, I can see how the owner just says, you know what, we're done. We're going to move on. So I get it. I don't think it's necessarily right, because I still think Doug Peterson's a very good coach. I think the Jets is a very curious landing spot for him, and that's a place with no expectations.
He's going to walk into a job.
You think this year? I don't know about this year.
I do. I guarantee he has a job in the next 2 weeks. Guaranteed.
I'd be curious. I would want to see him. I would want to see him with the Jets. Obviously, he's got a relationship with Joe Douglas.
Which coach? And I'm not saying that he's better than all the guys, because you never know until they get their head coach. But like, who has the better resume as a head coach than Doug Peterson on the circuit right now? Everybody else is a coordinator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like Doug Peterson can clearly run a team, especially from the locker room perspective. But Doug's problem is he needs to give up play calling. I think he's good at it, but it takes so much of his attention that we're just sloppy everywhere else. There's just no attention to detail anywhere else. So that's why I'm not against Philly getting like a John Harbaugh type coach who just isn't an offensive or defensive specialist, but he's just a fucking great leader.
I think one of the most overblown takes in football is we need a true head coach who's not just a play caller. I think that is so overblown. There have been so many coaches to win championships that called plays on either side of the ball, especially in the NFL. I don't. You can tell me whatever you want. I refuse to believe that Bill Belichick's not having some sort of say in play calling defensively. Doug Peterson's done it. Shoot, I can't think now. Mike McCarthy's done it. There have been so many. Even in college, Jimbo Fisher's done it. Urban Meyer's done it. Again, like I said, I don't think there's any situation where Nick Saban is not calling a play defensively for Alabama. I think it's overblown. People are like, we need a true CEO. I'm like,
no, I agree.
I get what you're saying, but I don't think there's any coach like that out there that is just there to run the team like a CEO. Yeah, I would say Harbaugh probably, but every single coach at any level has a hand on either side of the ball.
I think Tomlin's like that too, because I know he's a defensive coach, but he doesn't really call defensive plays.
True. That's true.
There's a couple, but no, I tend to agree with you. Obviously, if you have somebody special enough, which you want your head coach to be, who can run the team adequately and call fucking amazing plays, that's obviously way better than somebody you can. I didn't mean it like that. I just was coming from all right, if we get Robert Saleh, which I don't think they will, I think he's going to go to the Jets, but if we get Robert Saleh...
I think the wild card for him is the Lions because he's from Michigan, and I think he's already interviewed with them twice. That's a wild card. He shouldn't take that job, but it's home, so I could see him doing it.
He's in Philly right now, and as bad as the Philly job is,
I think he would be such a great fit in Philly because he's such a blue chip, hard nosed dude. I think he'd be great in Philly.
Dude, I was just sitting. I was like, somebody put up a picture of him and just said at the top, "There's no way Howie Roseman's telling this guy who's playing."
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love that.
Back to what you were saying about Joe Brady. To me, that is one of the wild cards of this carousel. Like I was saying, like the Chargers should be able to get an Eric Bieniemy if they want. I know he hasn't interviewed well, but in my opinion, he's the best candidate on the market. Salah's probably 2. But I always thought like a Brian Daboll or Joe Brady, kind of dudes who are like a year away, would be a wild card hire for a team like Houston, who probably can't land one of the top guys, or Jacksonville, or the Jets.
I don't want Daboll. Not that I think he'd be bad. It's just, do you really want to make him your head coach because Josh Allen had a good year?
Well, he developed Josh Allen.
The whole team developed Josh Allen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying he probably had a bigger impact on Josh Allen than anyone else on that staff, but it's like, I don't know, dude. I think a lot of people need to stop doing this. Like, oh, well, he was good with the QB, so we're gonna just let him run our fucking team. Like, I just don't think.
Well, no, and I'm not saying that either. But Daboll has an impressive resume. He's worked for, I think, Belichick and Nick Saban and Sean McDermott, who we both think is a top 10 coach in the NFL right now. So he's got a fairly impressive resume so far. And you factor that in with him developing Josh Allen into what he is. I think that makes him a very good candidate.
Absolutely. No, I mean. I was just saying I think that was a little overblown because I do think that he was like one of the big names, especially earlier on in the coaching carousel. I mean, dude, I just really hope, I just pray to God above that they don't make a hire for Carson Wentz. Like, do not fucking do that. The locker room probably already doesn't like this dude. If you bring in a coach because we're going to rehab Carson Wentz, nobody's going to want to fucking play for that dude. And they're going to hate Howie even more than they already do. It's just going to get even worse. If the guy who comes in can fix Carson Wentz, I prefer that not to be the case, fine. But do not go out there and be like, I got to get a guy to fix Carson Wentz to run this team. Bullshit. Carson Wentz
just
has
get
zero
the best dude. If he makes Carson Wentz better, then yeah, like.
No, that's my whole point. Well, my point was, like, don't go. Just forget. I'm tired of talking about the Eagles. They're not worth it.
All right. So is Urban Meyer going to go to Jacksonville?
Yes.
I don't know. He's stalling right now.
He's assembling his staff. I think. I mean, obviously, he hasn't given the okay yet. I mean, dude, I think that's just as good of a job. Not just as good of a job, but right behind the Charger job, dude. Because this is my whole thing about the Chargers too. Honestly, the Chargers, dude. There's no pressure. Zero freaking pressure, dude. You can go there. You do great. Awesome. You don't. Nobody gives a shit.
The problem with Jacksonville is the owner. So. Yeah. It's clearly going to be a 3 or 4 year rebuild, I think, for the Jags.
Yeah.
And I don't think the owner is up for it. Like, what I said with the Panthers last year when they hired Matt Rule, I thought it was perfect because Tepper, the owner there, is in it for the long haul. He is totally behind building something. He doesn't want to just win right now. He's like, let's build, I'm willing to, be patient and build something. He's put forth millions of dollars to build them a practice facility. He's all in on the Panthers and wants to do it right and brought in a guy he thinks can do it right. I don't get that vibe with the Jacksonville Jaguars with whatever his name is, Shamir Khan or something like that. I don't know. And didn't he take over GM duties as well? I think this is heading for disaster.
I think that I'm going to tell you right now, there is an absolutely positively 0.000% chance Urban Meyer takes a job where he doesn't have full control. So if Khan's like sitting there like, all right, you can coach and I'm going to do this, I'm going to hire another guy to do this, he won't take it. No shot. Yeah,
and that's what I mean. I don't think Khan's just getting to that Jerry Jones point. And even I wouldn't even say that because he hasn't done anything or made any money.
Yeah.
He's getting to that point where I'm going to be the GM and the owner. Like, these are two separate jobs. The owner is there to make money. The GM is there to assemble the roster.
Exactly.
That's just my opinion. Anyway, we can talk about that at a later date, or the rest of those jobs at a later date when they make these hires. Let's recap the Super Wildcard Weekend, first time ever. Pretty entertaining. Obviously, the big news of the weekend was the Cleveland Browns getting their first playoff win in, 24 years, something like that?
I think it was 95, yeah.
It was when Belichick was there. We were both cheering for the Browns in that game, I know. That game reminded me so much of that Super Bowl against the Broncos and the Seahawks, where just from the get-go, you knew it was going to be a long night. From the very first, I remember the very first play of that Super Bowl, the snap goes over Peyton Manning's head. I think it was for a safety, though. And then this play snap goes over Roethlisberger's head in the end zone for a touchdown by WVU's own Carl Joseph. And I just remember thinking from the get-go, oh, it's going to be one of those nights.
Put it this way, Big Ben got picked off by a defensive tackle twice. He threw 2 interceptions. Now, it got tipped and everything, but it's like, That should tell you all you need to know when the fattest guy on the field's intercepting your pass.
Just a bad night for the Steelers.
It was.
The Steelers have some soul searching to do, and I don't think firing Tomlin's the solution, and they're not going to. I don't think, but changes have to be made. I don't know if that's you move on from Big Ben, but this team had issues all year in running the ball and in short yardage, and that was obvious again on Sunday.
They have to move on from Big Ben. I think Big Ben's going to retire, personally. I don't see him coming back just because I don't think Big Ben loves football as much as guys like Drew Brees and Tom Brady do, to be honest with you. So as soon as, like, all right, my body's breaking down, and now I'm actually not playing as well as I used to, it's like, what's the point? Like, I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer. I made my money. Like, I think he's going to go.
It's got to end at some time, and I didn't see anything from him this year that made me think that he still got it in him.
No.
Like, I thought Rodgers was somewhat done after last year, but he still had flashes of being really good. Like, even in the playoffs, when your arm is, we've seen Breeze's arm get deteriorated, and then Roethlisberger's arm looked deteriorated this year. Rodgers, though, last year, I remember, his arm still looked good. He just wasn't making the right reads, and I still thought he was somewhat done, but I've been proven wrong this year. But I saw nothing from Roethlisberger this last month, really, that makes me think he still got something left in the tank. I don't see it.
No, not at all. You need it.
The problem is the Steelers don't really have an option behind him, and they're drafting in the 20s, so they don't really have a chance to get one of the top quarterbacks.
Carson Wentz, baby. Come get my boy Carson.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure they can take on his contract.
It won't be that much. I think he's like a $24 million cap hit next year if they get rid of Big Ben.
But still, cap is going down next year.
Yeah, I think that, they're going to have to do something, dude. They're going to have to be able to get all these players on their
maybe use a second or third round pick on a guy and battle it out, but yeah, I think the Steelers they got some questions to answer in the offseason. Browns, though, I like them. I'm cheering for them, but beating Pittsburgh's one thing. It's a totally different animal going into Kansas City and winning. I think they can do it with their pass rush, but it's going to be difficult.
Man, I think they got a shot, like a small shot.
I thought they had a better chance of beating Pittsburgh than I did Kansas City, obviously.
100%. I actually think they matched up pretty well against Pittsburgh.
I do too. Pittsburgh. I thought you were going to say Kansas City. They'd match up a little bit against Kansas City, I think. But
listen. I don't see that. Even though we're not making picks, like I don't see it happening for them next week. I actually think that was kind of their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I know it's a playoff game.
So I know one more thing I want to touch up on. The Steelers this week have been getting under my nerves. All these players, I think Chase Claypool said some stuff. I forget who else, but they've still said, like, shrugged at the loss and said the Browns are the Browns. And I said to my friends, they're acting like an SEC team after a bowl that got destroyed in a bowl game. They're acting like they didn't care.
Yeah. It's like, dude, yeah, you did. You lost in the playoffs.
Like, oh, the Browns are still the Browns. Who gives a shit? They won. You lost.
It's your division rival.
Yeah. It's the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, it drives me. It just annoyed me all. It's annoyed me all week. Browns are still the Browns. They'll lose less quick. You don't know. You're gonna be sitting at home. It's like listening to the Saints the last 3 years, talking about how they're the best team sitting at home.
I love Mike Tomlin. Think he's a great coach, but that's Mike Tomlin teams, bro. Talk all the time. You remember Le'Veon? You remember AB? Even Big Ben likes to fucking.
What's up?
Sorry, I just got a text message from
Oh, okay.
All right.
What else? Rams Seahawks. The one game I was torn on and went Seattle. Ended up being somewhat proven right, but still proven wrong because I picked the Seahawks to win. Seahawks were garbage. And I've said it for years. The Seahawks are overrated. They get Jamal Adams. I said it's not going to be much of an improvement. It really wasn't. And then what happened? Like, the whole let Russ cook thing was great for about 6 weeks. Then the last 10 weeks of the regular season, he was awful.
Bro, I gotta give you there. You've been on that since like week 8. I'll give you that all fucking day. And you're right, dude. No matter how good Russell Wilson is, no matter how good Patrick Mahomes is, no matter how good Aaron Rodgers is. Dude, like, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, but I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. Long for sure. I agree with you.
They fired Schottenheimer, which I do think is the right move, because I don't know how you get into we got to pound the rock mode with Russell Wilson. And I said it to my friends. I get it with older quarterbacks like Brady. Yes, you should be pounding the rock when he's 43 years old. Breeze, you should be pounding the rock. He's 42 years old. Rodgers, not so much, but I think LaFleur's done a pretty good job of at least mixing it up a little bit. But Rodgers is still 37. He'll be 40 by the time probably he's out of Green Bay, assuming that we roll with Jordan Love. The mission is to pound the rock. You want this dude fresh by the time the playoffs roll around. Look at what happened with Big Ben. His arm was shot because they didn't have a run game. I thought Lefko made a very intriguing comment on this. If you switch Russell Wilson and Ben Roethlisberger, I think that they totally thrive in the other person's offense. Put Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh, how much they throw the ball, I think he'd do great and better than what he was in Seattle. If you put Big Ben in Seattle's offense where they pound the rock and throw the ball deep, I think he's better than what he was in Pittsburgh.
Fair. That's very fair, even though I do think Russell Wilson pretty much fits anywhere. But no, I agree with the Ben Roethlisberger take there.
I don't know if it's time to move on from Pete Carroll or not. Like,
no. Pete Carroll's a great coach, man.
I know, but like you said, what have you done for me lately? It's one playoff win in 4 years.
I never see them and think that's a poorly coached team. I always look at them and go, why do they have so many fucking holes every year in the same spots?
Yeah, I know.
The same spots.
I'll give you that. I think this is more, and I've said it recently, in the last few years, this team is the new Green Bay. From like 2011 to 2015, where, say what you want about Mike McCarthy, I still thought he was pretty good back then. Rodgers was obviously great, but the front office never really did much to improve the roster. They drafted somewhat well, and I love Ted Thompson. He did draft somewhat well, but made some horrible decisions in free agency. And the Jamal Adams move, I will give John Schneider credit, is something that Green Bay probably wouldn't have done under Ted Thompson. I know that they did try to get Khalil Mack when he wanted out of Oakland, but didn't have quite the capital to do it. Where was I going with that? But anyway, like I was saying, this team just isn't going anywhere anytime soon. They don't draft well. They don't spend money. When was the last time you heard of a big free agent going to Seattle?
Who was the last one?
That's what I'm saying, right? Like not even like a huge free agent, like just a above average dude signing a big deal.
It's the last one I can think of.
I thought he was traded there. Was he not traded there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, he was. He was in Houston because you wanted him in Philly.
Yeah.
He was traded there. So they've made their roster improvements through trades, but then they don't re-sign Clowney, which I didn't have a problem with. I've said for a while I think Clowney's a little overrated. But I'm talking just a simple above average free agent. I can't think of a guy like that has signed like a 4-year deal, $40 million. Just a reasonable deal.
Damn, dude, you're actually right. That's a good point. That is a good point.
Like, I mean, shit, Green Bay even did that under Ted Thompson. They gave old ass, what's his name, Julius Peppers $30 million over 3 years, and he played well, but still.
No, he didn't.
That's just my opinion. Seattle's got a lot of work to do, and I think it starts in the front office. I think John Schneider, you could really look at his resume and say, you've had one really good draft, and you've kind of whiffed on the last decade.
Yep. Agreed.
So Rams move on, and in a pretty impressive performance, Jared Goff with one arm or one hand, pretty much throwing the ball around. I will say this. It was impressive, but if you just watched him throw the ball sometimes, his windup was incredibly slow. Like, he was not getting that ball out quick. He did not want to put pressure on that thumb.
Yeah.
And Seattle's pass rush, which was pretty good after they got Carlos Dunlap, was non-existent in that game. So I credit Sean McVay that they really stepped up in that game, especially defensively. But I cannot believe, if you had told me that Jared Goff would be playing in that game with basically one hand, and Aaron Donald would get hurt in the game, and Seattle would lose, I would have said you were insane. There's no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Rams won. Take away 2 44-yard plays and a pick six defensively. The Rams only scored 13 points offensively. It was not a particularly good day.
No, Jared Goff looked like shit.
Yeah, outside of 2 plays. One was I'll give credit to Cooper Kupp. He made a nice play, very nice play. The other was just a simple screen pass, I think, to Cam Akers, and he turned it into 44 yards. Really should have been only about an 8 to 10 yard gain. So credit to him, but really, the Rams offense did not do anything special. 2 big plays and a pick six sealed the deal.
I agree. They looked like that was not a great game to watch.
It was not. And going into this week, they have to come to Green Bay this week. I was worried about it as the game was going on Saturday. I was like, man, the Rams. And I do think the Rams match up somewhat well with Green Bay, especially defensively, because let me finish. Jalen Ramsey has the ability to take away Devontae Adams. And Aaron Rodgers will have to lean on the other guys, and I'm not sure what to expect there. I'm not saying they can't do it. I just don't know what to expect. But I will say this. Jared one thumb Goff ain't outscoring Aaron Rodgers. I just can't see it happening.
That's my whole point. That's all
like,
it is.
I think it's going to be a very similar. Like, I'm not saying we'll beat the Rams as badly as we beat Tennessee, but that game, Green Bay loaded the box, dared Tannehill to make plays in the passing game. He didn't do it. Derrick Henry didn't rush for 100 yards, and everyone's hyping up Cam Akers. Derrick Henry went into Lambeau in an environment that was supposed to be in their favor and didn't even get 100 yards and a touchdown. I don't see Cam Akers being better. Like, I'd expect about the same. I think the setup, I said it to you, James, I think the setup pretty well for Green Bay. We get the Rams, banged up Rams at home, coming off a bye. I was worried about playing Tampa coming off a bye week. I was. But now we face them coming off a bye week. Should win. We're back in sync, in time to play New Orleans or Tampa in the NFC Championship. I feel pretty good.
Yep, you should. You should.
Are you stopped right now, or are you at a light?
Yeah, no, I'm stopped. I have to go into the store.
Okay. No, we'll wrap up then. Anything else?
No, because we can. If there's anything we forgot, we can just retouch tomorrow. You want to do picks tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do picks tomorrow.
Right, cool. And then we can, because I don't think we forgot anything. We touched on the Bucks.
Well, the Bucks game went about as well, or about as what I thought, but it was closer than what I thought. The Bills, I mean, Colts were in that game for a while. I was concerned for Josh Allen for a little bit.
No, dude, I thought at the end they were going to lose. I really did.
I couldn't understand what the Colts were doing. They kept running the ball on the final drive. No timeouts. They had the ball deep in their territory, and they kept running the ball.
Yeah, they just ran out of time.
Yeah, and then I never had any doubt Rivers wasn't getting that ball to the end zone on that Hail Mary. I was like, there's no chance this ends up in the end zone.
Dude,
and it was 5 yards short.
Send out Brissett. I thought they'd send out Brissett.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm still surprised they didn't. I realize that Rivers gives you a better chance, I guess, statistically, of making that play. But his arm couldn't get there. Brissett's arm probably could.
Yeah, I agree. So.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Were there other games? Yeah, Saints Bears. That was an incredibly boring game.
Was good. Went exactly how I thought it was going to go. Exactly. That's exactly why I called Ravens in that game.
I said Saints Bears.
That was the game, and it sucked.
Oh, it did suck. Bears really played not to lose.
Yeah, the Bears.
Ravens Titans. That was a pretty boring game too, and much more low scoring than I thought.
That's exactly the game I expected.
I didn't. I thought it was going to be a lot of points.
Well, I think Ravens Bills this weekend is the game.
That's a really tough matchup.
Yup.
I'm still pretty torn on it.
Same. We'll get into it though.
Yeah, we'll get into it tomorrow. All right, man.
All right, buddy.
Later.
Later.